Welcome to the TCM Teach podcast, the business podcast designed exclusively for acupuncturists and Chinese medicine herbalists who are ready to build thriving, sustainable businesses. My name is Matthew Sabey Smith, a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, professor, entrepreneur, and I've spent years helping practitioners just like you not only master their clinical skills, but their businesses too. What if your acupuncture business could give you freedom, multiple income streams, and long-term sustainability? Instead of burnout, what if you could have all of these things instead? So today we're going to dive into how to shift from running just a clinic to building a profitable TCM business model. So let's get started. But first, like any good practitioner, quick little disclaimer. Just please remember, I am simply a practitioner here to support you on your journey. The information shared in this podcast is intended for educational and learning purposes only. It should not be taken as professional, legal, or financial advice. For guidance specific to your business, please consult with the appropriate licensed professional. Thank you. So today's topic, building a profitable TCM business model, not just a clinic. So why thinking beyond just a clinic matters. And I'm sure there's a few things you might be thinking off the top of your head, but maybe you haven't applied them, maybe you've had other ideas, or maybe this is simply a brainstorming session for you for the first time, and that's completely okay. So many acupuncturists tend to limit themselves to one-on-one treatment income. And truthfully, I feel like that's what we were taught in school so often, and it kind of drives me a little crazy because one-on-one models are great. I think, in today's day and age, we kind of have to make more income in certain ways to build a sustainable business. But when you don't have the income to create that from a singular patient, or the insurance companies aren't paying out the same way they should be all the time, or they might change their prices, or patient inconsistencies can happen if you don't know your marketing or your numbers well enough, or your margins aren't quite where they need to be. There's so many other ways to build the gap, to bridge the gap. So without additional income streams, your growth is capped. And that's ultimately what creates so much burnout in the profession, is when that growth is capped. Sometimes there can be this imminent doom. If you're really tired one week and then you're like, oh my God, I have to do this for the rest of my life, because if I don't, how am I going to make a living? Do I have to go get a job at the local grocery store or something? And then the question is, I have a doctorate, but am I even qualified to work in a grocery store? And that's kind of the craziness that we have come to in today's day and age, which is a little silly to think about. But when it comes to building a business model, we need to create multiple scalable ways to serve people and thus earn money. So I have a list here today that I'm going to share with you of core elements of a profitable TCM business model. Okay. So 1, the clinic as the hub. Your clinic is the foundation, but should not be the only revenue source. Of course, build it up to a point where you could be capped. That's great. Or have a wait list that can serve your bank account and it can serve your ego at the same time. That's perfectly okay. But what happens after that? You want to clarify your core services, your pricing, and your patient journey. And this is something to think about with most businesses. What's the journey? How do they find you? And how do they move up the ladder? Because there's so many people that are going to want to have more. They're going to want to learn more. And what I've seen a lot of practitioners do, TCM practitioners in particular, they're trying to get the next edge with some new technology, or they're trying to offer some cutting edge whatever. And that's cool. But it's also kind of funny to me because you got into traditional Chinese medicine, and I don't necessarily know if that always sticks to traditional Chinese medicine. I think it's important to broaden your scope and be able to offer more services for people. But the issue that I have seen with this phenomenon is practitioners can sometimes lose sight of what they went to school for. They can kind of lose sight of the traditional Chinese medicine and rely more on technology that could be in different types of offices. So that's really important to think about. You want to be able to implement systems that make clinic operations smooth and, where people struggle, scalable. So the reason a lot of practitioners get stuck is they don't create a scalable model. They see that they have 40 hours to work in a week, for example, and they max out those 40 hours. Okay, they're maxed out for 40 hours, and they're thinking maybe as a sole proprietor, single member, LLC or PLLC, whatever. And they're like, okay, if I can fit one more table, then I can get this many more patients in per hour. That's still taking too much from your own pot here. And if you only think in this way and don't want to delegate any responsibility, you're going to be capped. You have to get a little more creative running a business. So this is a little difference between running a clinic versus running a business. Running a clinic, once you get capped out, you're doing great. You did your job. But what about the business as a whole? That's the key difference between a practitioner and a true business owner or entrepreneur. So multiple revenue streams, and we have a few ideas that we're going to go over today that I wrote down for you, where I have a couple examples just to get your brain jogging a little bit. So one example, group classes or group programs. You could do things like acupressure workshops. Maybe you could teach Qigong. You could teach Tai Chi. A lot of TCM practitioners that I've met do yoga. I do yoga. I love doing yoga. You could do lifestyle coaching. As many of you know, I coach. Or if you don't know, now you do. So I do TCM business coaching, obviously. Hence, that's why I'm here. Other examples, retail and product sales, herbs, supplements, self-care tools, books, digital offers like ebooks, online courses, webinars, memberships, or you could do professional offers. And this is very common, CEUs. When you have a key skill that you've gained somewhere else or through your TCM career, you have some clinical pearls to share, that's a great opportunity to make CEUs. But how do you do that, right? Well, conveniently, my business helps you do that. Hee hee. Anyway, practitioner mentorship can be huge. So especially new grads, I know in the first episode I mentioned find someone who you want to be like, who you want to work like. Those of you who are more veterans in the field, there are students who are seeking out mentorship. You just have to offer it. And it doesn't have to be free, everybody. They can pay for it. They paid so much money to go to school. They could pay a little more for arguably what could be the highest quality education they could get thus far. Speaking engagements are huge. Yes, here I am on this podcast, but public speaking, it does get easier over time, everybody. Trust me, don't be afraid to speak. People want to hear from you. It can be patients, it can be professionals. I guarantee you there is some unique angle you have that you probably have just not thought of yet. I remember in particular, I had a student in my class, and this particular student said, well, I don't have anything that makes me stand out. I don't know what makes me unique. And then later in the class, they ended up creating this amazing business plan, and I loved it. It was super unique. And then they said, well, yeah, I was kind of inspired by what you did in an example in your clinic. I was like, cool. Do you only speak English? Well, actually, no. I actually can speak several other languages. I said, congratulations. Now you can work with a population that most of us English-only speaking people cannot work with, okay? Boom, something that made them unique. And then you can scale using that unique model just with that language, working with that population. Quick examples that make you unique. And we're going to talk about this further in future episodes too. So, okay, next thing on the list, leveraging your expertise. Transition from just practitioner to educator, mentor, thought leader. A lot of acupuncturists like to go in their little bubble or be a little hermit crab. Okay, here I am sticking needles in people. That's all great. And then they retire and they're like, all right, cool. Well, good luck. Some of them go out and teach in the schools. I personally love to teach in the schools. The key here is you have so much knowledge, and it's hard because it's taken for granted too often, or you give it away for free too often. Because maybe even you have a doctoral degree, but maybe this might hurt a little. Maybe you've been called not a real doctor before. I've definitely had that happen, and it's like, whatever. I'm just not my target audience to work with. That's perfectly okay. The key here is there are people that want to hear from you. There are people that can learn from you, and there are people that will value your time, your mind, your education. The key here is you want to share your knowledge with both patients, and you can absolutely share it with other practitioners and everyone that's not just TCM practitioners. I have had amazing conversations with all types of practitioners in the medical field, time and time again. Arguably, some of my better conversations are with practitioners in other parts of the medical field because it opens up so many great ideas and thoughts that we can collaborate on. And it's really neat, especially when we're licensed to do different things. That can actually be a very great synergistic relationship. You can position yourself as a trusted authority in TCM wellness with your patients. I've mentioned this before. Getting your niche. What do people know you as? Who are you the person to see? I remember when I was living in Flagstaff, Arizona, we used to have quarterly meetings with the acupuncturists. We weren't all competition to each other. We said, hey, let's get together and help each other. How do we improve acupuncture for everyone? And we would have these conversations. Oh, this person works on this type of condition. This person works more orthopedic, more like a PT style. And here's me over here, more of like the sports medicine TCM guy working with athletes. So we had this really awesome setup where we knew who to refer to for everything. And that was a really great thing that we created. And we ended up creating authority even within our little group within northern Arizona, for example. So just think about ways you can also collaborate with people as well, because you can be authorities together in TCM wellness for your patients and for each other. We learned from each other in that group all the time. And it was actually very short-lived for me, but very special the time that I did have with that particular group. So we also have creating a value ladder approach. This is a very basic business concept that is, it can be detailed so much further, but we're going to keep it very basic today. And I actually created a resource for all of you members to look at and utilize. So what it is you picture a ladder, and we'll call it your value ladder. This is essentially the steps that the patients can take to move up your ladder, leading them to something that's higher value and therefore costs more. So for example, if we start at the bottom of the ladder, that would be something that's entry level. How do they hear about us? You could create free resources. Maybe it's a blog, a podcast, a free workshop you put on at the local library. Something for someone to find you. How do they find you? Because sitting in your clinic all alone, sipping tea all day, unless you have a very vibrant, busy area, people may not find you very easily. And even so, they may walk by. Okay, so we have our entry level. Then we move on to a mid-level. So this could be, your mid-level could actually be your clinic visits. It could be group programs. It could be a digital product, a digital offering, even maybe something like telehealth for your patients. It could be a fitness group or depending on what type of population you work with, you could create some type of challenge and create a group program around it. And this is actually fairly common for acupuncturists where they create a group program geared towards something specific health-wise. Perhaps you work with a lot of diabetics, so you create a program on healthy weight management and blood sugar control, and you take them through this whole group program, and they all get to know each other. It could be a really nice experience, and then they also make friends going through the same thing, and then if they're working with you, they can help each other, and you created that relationship for them in your program. And that is already something that can break free from the in-person day in, day out model. That's not something that just has to be present in person. Okay, something high level like coaching or mentorship, like one-on-one mentorship. You could create a retreat. Something else that's very common, wellness retreats, maybe with other practitioners even. Creating advanced trainings for professionals or even for patients, putting on seminars, things of that nature can be really fun and rewarding, and they can pay out too. The key here is these are very brief examples, but each step provides more access, more value, and more revenue as a result of you simply working on this ladder. Okay, number 5 on my list here, marketing and brand positioning. You want to brand yourself around transformation, not just treatments. Let me say that again. You want to brand yourself around transformation, not just treatments. You want to clarify your unique story and specialty within TCM and advertise the transformation that you're going to help someone get as a result of working with you. If you can do that, you're going to have a very good niche. You're going to have authority, and the confidence that comes off of you from that type of advertising, people are going to gravitate towards that. Sometimes people don't know what they need until they've seen it, and so they respond to it. So if you can create a consistent marketing strategy that is aligned online and offline, then you are going to set yourself up for success fairly quickly. The key is pick a position and stick to it and keep pushing it, because people are going to begin to respond. And sometimes it's going to take several times for them to see the same thing or hear the same thing, or they're going to kind of wait and hear about you and see what you're like before they really want to speak with you or invest their money, time, and trust you with their wellness or their condition, whatever it may be. The key is, what is the transformation you are going to create through working with them? Okay, next, financial structure. You want to price strategically. Charge based on value, not on fear and not on time. Charge based on the transformation that you're going to be creating, not how much time it takes you, and not fear of losing the client. Because the lower and lower and lower your price goes, the more and more someone's going to want to take from you. Not all the time. There are true situations where there is need-based care or programs, things like that, and you could build that into your business plan. However, that is very case-by-case basis, and I challenge you to stick to the price that you set for yourself and make sure it's high enough. On the flip side, I have seen people price something so high to the point they actually don't think someone is going to buy it. And so they actually price it so high out of fear that they won't actually have to go do it. So don't be that person either. So fear can go either way. You can look overconfident or you can look not confident enough. So be strategic, charging on the value of the transformation you're going to create. You want to build recurring revenue models, memberships, packages, subscriptions, whatever it may be, whatever type of model business you want to add on to your clinic. And you could totally do these things with your clinic, and maybe you already do. What else can you add? What type of value and transformation can you advertise to patients, other practitioners, people in your community? What other people can you work with? Maybe you can do a joint membership of some sort with some other professional or something. The key is just track and analyze your income streams, both for balance and for growth. We will get into more advanced stuff way down the road as we hit that point in the podcast. But the key is keep track. If something's working, how can you make it better? If something's not working, is it worth holding on to? Is this purely emotional, or is this actually good for your business? Those are the key questions that you want to ask yourself. Okay, systems and a team. You want to delegate administrative tasks. You want to do your best to minimize the amount of time you are not the mastermind behind the income. Because things like secretarial work, taking phone calls, billing, scheduling, if you're spending a lot of time doing that, you're not spending your time correctly in your zone of genius. As a result, you're actually losing money. You're losing the potential of more income. So if you can delegate these responsibilities, I actually had a mentor back when I was in undergrad where I was a supervisor for the rec sports complex. So I was one of the head personal trainers there and head of the complex as a student. And one of the key things that my mentor told me, he said, delegate responsibility, delegate responsibility, delegate responsibility. Because your job is to oversee everything. You need to see the big picture. And if you're not doing that and you're getting too stuck in the weeds all the time, you're not going to be able to see what's important right in front of you. Your job is to maintain the safety and well-being of everybody. So for us here, our job is to maintain the standards of our business and make sure we get more people to have the transformation that we want, that we can guarantee for them. So make sure that you delegate responsibility, because if you're taking too much time for little things that could be delegated, you're actually losing money. And if it costs a little to delegate it, that's okay, because in the long run, you're going to make more. You want to use software to manage your bookings and communication and sales. If you don't want to delegate a physical person, or maybe you can do a mix of the two, EHR systems are a lot better for this stuff now. So just pay attention to that. You could hire a marketing company, things we actually talked about in the first episode as well. You just want to consider all of the ways you can delegate this responsibility. And you could consider hiring associates or interns. You can expand your reach that way pretty easily. Interns actually work for free or pretty cheap because you have something that they want. Maybe that could be an easy trade for some of your time as a mentor, for example. Okay, next. Sustainability and lifestyle alignment. You want to build a business that supports your health and or your family, and what is the vision that you're trying to create. So when you think about this, why did you go to TCM school in the first place? What was it you wanted to learn to create? A lot of times people go for themselves, or they want to heal other people, or they witness something from a family member and they felt helpless and they wanted to learn more. Maybe they felt certain types of medicine didn't align with them and they found that TCM did align with them and their values, and they wanted to expand that further. So who are you, or who were you when you were that bright-eyed, almost ready to graduate from TCM school person? What was that vision? What did you want to create? Or if you haven't thought about this, what is your ideal scenario? There's really no limitation to what you can do, but what would you like to see happen in the world, in your community, or your state? I have students who have wanted to help with the political side of TCM, who have wanted to create better products for TCM, who want to treat patients, but also want to teach or mentor, or they wanted to work with another family member who's a different kind of practitioner. The key is, what do you envision? What would you like to happen? Don't let somebody else just tell you. What is it that you truly want that lights you up? What would make you want to wake up and do your job every day? And if you're not feeling that way now, what needs to change? You just want to avoid the loop of always trading all of your energy for money. Because while it sometimes is necessary, right in the beginning, especially if you're first starting out, it's a loop that continues over and over again until you find a way to leverage your genius a little further. I have noticed in school, it doesn't seem like students learn how to leverage their degree more than working on patients, generally speaking. I have noticed that I have even had students who actually, this is their retirement plan. This is their retirement job. They say they want to just work on patients, do their thing, stay quiet, and that's how they live the rest of their life. And there is nothing wrong with that. But I'm here to tell you there's easier ways to do it, or to add to that plan to make your life a little more comfortable and actually help more people. The key here is thinking about leveraging longevity. If you're pushing 40, 50, 60-hour work weeks as a practitioner, this is not a desk job. This is a fairly physical job. That is a lot. I'm not saying not everybody can do it. However, how nice would it be to make sure you're making money even if you need to take a sick day? Even if your patients have to be canceled for a day because you're not feeling well, or maybe you want to take a vacation. What are ways you can create more income? And you can go back through this episode and listen to it again just for some of those examples, or go to the resource that I provided for the members. You want to align your business growth with your values, like I mentioned, and here's the other key, your lifestyle goals. And I know this can get a little uncomfortable for people, especially when they've been doing the same thing for so many years, or students who are fairly young, just graduating. They're like, I don't know what I want in 10 years. And that's okay, maybe you don't. Or maybe if you're an older practitioner, it's like 10 years would be really great, to picture retirement or something. Or maybe you're technically able to retire, but you just love what you're doing. How can you make your legacy more comfortable? Just make sure that whatever it is you do, the hours you put in, the time you put in, the expectations that you create, make sure they're realistic, because it has to align with your lifestyle goals. But if it doesn't align with your lifestyle goals, you have to go back to the drawing board. How do you accomplish your vision while maintaining your lifestyle, or the lifestyle you want? Write down what that might be, because that could be very crucial.